Live. Alrighty. Ah, there we go. That sounds better. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. It's pretty cool. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Brendan Connors. I'm the president of Uncensored America. I'm going to keep this pretty short and sweet. If any of you are interested in joining Uncensored America, if you're a student here, talk to me or one of our volunteers at the end of the event, and we'll get you interested, get you invested. Big things are coming soon, so now's the time to get in. You want to get in, kind of like the stock market. You want to get in before the big rise. So buy now. In a moment, you're going to hear from Dean of Students, Deputy Title IX Director, Dr. Mark Shook. He's going to remind everybody of some student conduct rules, things like that. And yeah, it's going to be a good day for free speech. So yeah, without any further ado, here is Dr. Mark Shook.
Good evening. So as Brandon mentioned, my name is Mark. I'm with the University C team, which manages events of this nature. So just a quick rundown of what is allowed, what's not allowed. First, everyone is allowed to be here. The University of South Carolina respects free speech and the First Amendment. One of the things that is allowed is your presence. One of the things that you cannot do is disrupt the speaker. The speaker is an invited guest of a registered student organization. They control this room. And under that, they have the ability to invite a speaker and have that individual not be disrupted. A disruption is what's called, under legal terms, a heckler's veto. If you engage in activities that materially disrupts the speakers, you will be asked to leave. There is a Q&A section that's going to follow. If you have questions, pose them during that time. Don't scream them out. You also have the ability to disagree. If the speaker says something you disagree with, you can boo. That's allowed. You just can't boo consistently to the point where the speaker can't convey his message. And that is clear. There are individuals with these badges. We're here to enforce the university's rules along those lines. Failure to do so can result in your expulsion from the event, a referral to the Office of Student Conduct, or potentially, if material disruption, arrest. any questions about the ground rules for events at the University of South Carolina? All right, with that, the next speaker.
How you guys doing tonight? All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. We're happy to always have you here at Uncensored America events here at South Carolina. If you want to join our chapter here, if you want to get more involved, if you want to check out our other chapters or host an event on your campus, go to uncensoredamerica.us. And you can either join us here or join another chapter, another campus, or start your own as well. And I just want to talk about the table today because we had a little crazy incident with that. You probably saw that we were outside this building with a table where Myron was debating people, and somebody decided to throw a bag of bugs behind him. And yeah, I know they're not sending their best. Like, let's be real. But it's kind of scary though that people like don't believe in free speech all amongst this generation. Obviously there's a lot that do, but there's a lot that don't. And it's scary that people are trying to shut it down. And that's exactly why we're here. We're trying to fight against cancel culture, censorship, because there are a lot of opinions you may agree with, a lot you disagree with, but the ones that need to be protected are the ones that are the most dangerous, the ones that you do disagree with. So we hope that everybody who does disagree can participate in the Q&A, can ask a question, have a civil discourse tonight with Myron. And hopefully we don't have any security problems like what just happened earlier. So hopefully that all goes smoothly tonight, and I encourage you guys to be respectful and participate in the Q&A. So if you also want to check out our next event, it's going to be Andrew Wilson versus Apostate Prophet at the University of North Carolina, Asheville. It's next week from today, so Monday of next week. You can get tickets at uncensoredamerica.us. It's already selling out a lot of VIP tickets, so you better get your tickets now before they're all gone. And it's going to be another big debate. And anybody who's ever watched Andrew Wilson knows that his debates go pretty viral, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And lastly, I want to talk about our YouTube channel because we're doing a fundraiser right now with James from Modern Day Debate to buy some cameras and lenses. So if you'd like to help support us so that we can do more events like this more frequently, the link's in the description. And you can also go to Modern Day Debates as well to check that out. And without further ado, is the man of the hour, the host of the Fresh and Fit podcast and former HSI agent, the notorious Myron Gaines.
Fuckers, how we doing? Yeah, what's up, guys? How y'all doing, man? Man, college has changed a lot, hasn't it, huh? Like, I get on, and we start talk about how, modern women really aren't fulfilling their end of the deal, right? And they still want to get married and get these relationships. And then I get a bunch of feminists coming at me, and I'm like, oh, crap. Like, oh, wow, man. Like, college has changed a lot since, I went to Northeastern in 2009, graduated 2013. And, back then, people weren't as woke. But, like, now it's gotten crazy, man. But triggered a lot of people. It's going viral right now all over Twitter because people, like, took clips from it and everything else and YouTube and all. And I think a big reason why it's going so viral is because the liberal agenda isn't really being challenged on the college campuses. And I could see why a lot of people don't want to do it because, a lot of people might not want to necessarily have their views tested, or they don't want to get heckled, or they're afraid of public speaking. But for me, I've been in way worse positions. I've been going after cartel members and stuff like that. So talking to some college kids is nothing. But real quick, I guess I'll talk real quick about like feminism, right? And then we'll open it up for Q&A. I won't yap too much because I don't want to give too long of a monologue. But give me one sec. So, okay. So when it comes to feminism, right? Basically what's went down, I'll quickly summarize this. Since the 1960s, right, with the sexual revolution, the invention of the birth control pill and a bunch of other things, we've seen a rise in women wanted to be treated as equals, right? And women have pretty much forgone the family and prioritized education and entering the workforce. Open sexual liberation, and we thought, oh, this is going to be great. We're all going to get laid, and women are going to be able to make their own money, and we won't have to worry about supporting them, and it's not going to be as burdensome being a guy and taking care of a family. And quite frankly, the opposite has happened. We have some of the highest divorce rates, low marriage rates, low marital satisfaction. Both men and women are complaining about dating and how difficult it is. From the female perspective, they're having a tough time with finding a compatible partner. From the male perspective, just finding a partner is tough, right? That's why this whole term of incel is a thing nowadays versus, I guarantee you go back 50, 60 years, a common guy, a regular guy would be able to find a girl and get, do a date or have a date, get married and have a family and be able to support that family on one income. But now things have changed so much where, both parties are very unhappy with the other. And I think it's because we've kind of blurred the lines between the gender roles. Women are behaving more like men and men are behaving more like women. I'm sure a bunch of the ladies in here have probably been on a date with a guy before where he said, oh yeah, let's split it half and half. Or, hey, can you get this one and I'll get you back, but he never gets you back. Oh, I'll cash app you, Venmo you. He goes ghost. Or for men, you go out with a woman that, isn't really appreciative, not really feminine, not really nice, not pleasant to be around. She talks like a guy. She's very rude. She's very crass, right? She's fat, right? Let's be honest. A lot of fat women nowadays, too. Women don't really take care of their appearance like they used to. There's no shame. So I think both genders are kind of in a bad spot right now when it comes to women. Now, I tend to focus more, since I talk to men, on the problems from the female perspective, but I'd be lying to you guys if I didn't tell you guys that men aren't fucking up, too, because they definitely are. But for men, the interesting thing is that the standards have pretty much been the same. Go to the gym, make money, become successful, become, someone that's a leader, competent. Like, it hasn't really changed so much for us. And the most important part, if you're a guy and you're a loser, you deal with consequences for that. Women don't date you. Other men don't let you into their circle. You get made fun of. You get called names, which is good, by the way. I'm a big proponent of bullying. I think bullying curbs a lot of problems and fixes society naturally. But on the female side, we don't correct bad female behavior, okay? If a woman is loud, obnoxious, fat, rude, no one really says anything, right? They say, oh, love your curves. Oh, they just can't handle you, right? We make all these excuses and cope for bad female behavior. And that's kind of where I come in. And I think we've done a good job over at Fresh and Fit where we bring women from all different walks of life. People say, oh, well, you only bring OnlyFans girls. Well, that's just a percentage of the girls we bring in. We actually do bring a lot of college-educated young women that have careers. And what I've realized is, regardless of what they do for a profession, where they're from, background, etc., a lot of women are kind of poisoned by feminist ideology, right? And they'll still want a traditional guy. They'll want a guy that could pay the bills. They want a guy that could take care of them. But what is the guy getting in return? A loud, obnoxious woman that thinks that she can go ahead and compete with him on everything. So both genders have a problem. One is verbalized on the male side and they deal with consequences, but on the female side, it almost never happens. And I'd like to credit Fresh and Fit for bringing these women in, having these tough conversations, and just kind of seeing where their mind is at. And basically, for me to boil it down, it's this. Thanks to feminism, thanks to the internet, thanks to social media, etc., women have an abundance of options. Since they have an abundance of options, they base their value on what they think they deserve with a man on the amount of options that they have. But what they don't realize is the amount of men that contact you are not the same amount of men that are going to go ahead and get down on one knee. The men that you can attract sexually might not necessarily be the same men that you can attract from a marital perspective. And I think that's one of the biggest disconnects, where women conflate options with real viable marriage options. And what ends up happening is they get a taste of these guys at the higher level, maybe an NBA player, maybe a celebrity here or there. They might hook up with it. They might even see him for a month or two. But then they're not able to keep that guy. And I think a big reason for that is because of the bad behavior I mentioned before. But the thing with men is most guys are pussies. They're not going to tell women, hey, you're really annoying. Hey, you should probably stop that habit. Hey, that's not cool. Men don't tell women this stuff because, well, they don't want to get heckled like I did today, right? Men can't be honest with women. We just can't. And, I found it interesting how, as I was talking, I was looking out into the crowd, and I could see a lot of people nodding along, but they didn't want to necessarily speak up or clap or anything like that when I said something or made a point. But the people that were, more liberal, feminist, whatever, they were the loudest ones. And that's when I said, well, this is why Trump won the election, and there was a silent majority. Because people are tired of the woke ideology. People saying that there's 99 genders. Do I deserve more or whatever? It's like, no, dude, you're a weirdo. Like, You know, it's like, look, if you want to go ahead and call yourself a woman when you're really a man, then that's your problem. We don't have to go ahead and buy into your fairy tale. It's weird. So, but that's kind of where we are now, where men can't be honest. We can't say what's really on our mind, and we can't really hold women to a standard and make them better. Because I truly do think we're at a point now where if a guy gets in a relationship with a girl, he's got to have very strong boundaries and be able to coach his woman to be the proper girlfriend for him and eventually a wife if she passes the test. But a lot of guys don't have the balls to do this because we're taught, oh, you accept her however she comes, right? They always tell you be a man, but we never tell women to be women, right? We never tell them, hey, be a lady. We just say, oh, okay, you behave however you want. And I'm kind of saying what everyone is thinking, right? And I got the numbers to back it up, that men simply don't see a lot of women as marriage material. Another thing that I've also noticed over the past couple of years is there's been an influx in the passport movement, in the passport bro movement. For those that are unaware, I'm sure the women might not know what I'm talking about here. The passport bro movement is a movement where a lot of guys basically go to foreign countries in South America, Africa, Eastern Asia, etc., and find themselves a partner. And I know some people might say, oh, wow, why are guys doing that? Are they desperate or whatever? Well, these are some of the places where, there's still some remnants of femininity, women that behave like ladies. And the thing is that men don't really care about a woman's education or status. Men are more concerned with a girl that's going to respect them, that follows their lead, that admires them, that it obeys them, right? And I mean, one girl got triggered when I said obey. And I'm like, what, a guy can't give instruction to a woman? It's like, you want me to go ahead and pay the bills and take care of you, whatever, but you're not going to obey me? Like, that's ridiculous. That's slavery. Responsibility without authority is slavery. And I'll be damned if we're going to be slaves to bitches. No, So all I'm telling guys to do is really understand their worth and make women earn it. That's really what it is. And trust me, they'll respect you more for it anyway. So that's what's going on, where these guys are going to these other countries, and it's because Western women have become so insufferable and so difficult to deal with. And again, the numbers are on my side when it comes to this. This is why so many guys go to these different places. So with that said, can you still find great women in America? Of course, but it's just harder to find because feminism is permeated so strongly throughout society that a lot of women adopt these ideologies where she doesn't feel like she needs to submit to you. She doesn't feel like she needs to listen to you. She doesn't feel like she needs to adhere to her ladylike tendencies. Instead, she could behave however she wants, but she still expects you to be the man. If someone breaks into the house, you're supposed to go deal with it. If someone grabs the purse, you're supposed to go chase them down. If someone insults her, you're supposed to stand up for her. But she won't go ahead and obey you. That's crazy to me, right? And the example I always give a lot of the times, Donald Trump is the most powerful person right now in the world, right, as the President of the United States. And I find it interesting, when he was in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they shot at him, and he almost got assassinated, he wanted to stay there. He rises up, puts his fist in the air, and he says, fight, fight, fight. He didn't want to leave, right? We all know that Donald Trump has a little bit of an ego, right, which successful men typically have that mindset. He didn't want to leave, but guess what? Secret Service dragged him off. Why? Because even though he's the most powerful man in the world, he still needs to adhere to the people that are responsible for his safety. So they tell him, no, you're leaving, and they pulled him out of there. So if the people that are responsible for protecting the most powerful man in the world dictates the role of, hey, you need to leave, well, it should be the same way with the man with his wife, right, or his girlfriend. If I tell a girl, and I'm dating her, and I care about her, and I tell her, hey, look, I don't want you going to the club with your girlfriends, or hey, I don't want you going out after a certain time. Well, some women will sit there and say, well, that's controlling, that's insecure. Well, what's more insecure? Me being scared of telling you the truth because you might leave me, or me telling you what you need to hear and not necessarily what you want to hear for your own safety? I would argue the person that tells her what needs to be said is actually very secure because I don't give a fuck what you think. You're not going outside at this time. Well, what the fuck? That's insecure. Well, look, I'm telling you what it is. If you walk out that door, you're single. And you'd be amazed at how many women would actually respect it and say, you know what? I'm going to sit my ass inside. Because the reality is women like to test you sometimes, and they want to see if can you stand up to their bullshit. Right? They do it all the time. So, and it works in her benefit because now she feels safe. She's with you. You don't got to worry about anything. But sometimes you got to be able to put your foot down with women, even though society tells you not to do that, and it's insecure or toxic or controlling. The only thing that's controlling here is me being in control of my life, which means I need a woman that's going to follow my lead, not a woman that's going to come in and create a bunch of pandemonium and do whatever she feels like. Because when women do stupid shit, they hurt us. I'll give you guys an example. I'm sure you guys remember roughly 2 years ago? Will Smith, legendary actor, sitting at a red table with his wife, right? And guess what happens? She goes ahead and says some stupid shit. Oh, I had a, what's the term? An entanglement, right? I had an entanglement. And in that instant, bam, career gone. Nobody remembers iRobot. Nobody remembers I Am Legend. Nobody remembers Men in Black. Nobody remembers Independence Day. Nobody remembers Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Nothing. All I remember seeing was Will Smith sitting at a table with red eyes, on the verge of tears from his woman embarrassing him on TV. And he still hasn't recovered. He still hasn't recovered. Then he had the slap with Chris Rock. And I give you guys that example to show you that a man with a background like Will Smith, who's literally a legend in music and entertainment and acting and movies and TV shows, this guy's a legend. But his legacy has been tarnished because what? A stupid bitch that wanted to be a whore. And this is what I mean when I tell guys, right? That's facts. You know? Bro went from I Am Legend to I Am Simp. Like, what's going on here? So this is what I mean. If a woman like that could destroy Will Smith's legacy, what the fuck do you think is going to happen to you guys? Right? Will Smith can't even save himself from these whores. Shannon Sharp just got accused yesterday. Literally yesterday. Some woman trying to shake him down for $50 million. Right? Now, gladly enough, I do see that there's quite a bit of criticism and people questioning this woman's character and her potentially lying. But I think it's important for you guys to understand that she would not make a baseless and ridiculous accusation like that had we not been living in this crazy gynocentric society where we have this believe all women mindset, right? We have women coming after Brett Kavanaugh. We have women coming after Andrew Tate with the whole thing out of California. Chick said, oh, I got slapped. And you look at her face and she has literally two of the same identical marks, which come from surgery, not from getting slapped, right? It's not like Andrew was like, hey, bitch, put your face this way, and then smack her, and then, okay, do it right here. I got to get a perfect degree. And smack her again perfectly. Like, no, bro. But the reason why women feel okay with making these wild accusations and lying on men with this Me Too era is because they know they're going to get the benefit of the doubt. And then on top of that, if they fail, are they going to jail? No. The Johnny Depp case proved this, right? Thankfully, right? Johnny Depp recorded the conversations, which he had to do illegally, by the way. He recorded the conversations to prove that this woman was batshit fucking crazy. Quite literally batshit crazy, shitting on beds and stuff. So, you know, thankfully, he had that evidence and he was able to prove that he was innocent. But what did he have to do? He had to take her to trial. He had to go take it all the way through, spent millions of dollars on a legal team, lost millions of dollars with the Pirates of the Caribbean series, lost a bunch of sponsorships. His reputation was destroyed for a period of time. So he was guilty and then he had to prove himself innocent. And that's kind of the society we're in. If a woman makes an accusation, they believe her. Now, with that said, I want to be very clear about this. Sexual assault and rape are very serious crimes, and the people that perpetrate them need to go to jail, right? I'm a firm believer that women need to be protected. But at the same time, we also need to penalize the women that literally do this for monetary benefit and lie, right? We saw it happen with Kobe Bryant. We saw it happen with so many different powerful individuals where the women are kind of suing to get a payday. And now what's going on with Shannon Sharp is just, another example. He announces he's going to get a $100 million podcast deal, and then like the next day or two, she's over here going to the biggest clout chase lawyer, Busby or whatever his name is, who's representing a bunch of other people. He represented the chick that made the accusation against Jay-Z. He's representing the chick that made the accusation against Andrew Tate. Like, this guy's just trying to get a dollar because he knows a lot of the times famous men that have a status are going to settle, right? They're going to want to, I don't want to deal with this. They're going to just settle. So, but she would not have mounted that attempt, this like literally shameless attempt to make money, had it not been for the current environment that we have now, where we have this, gynocentric society where women are always right, men are always wrong, women can do whatever they want, but men are held to static standards, and it's just ridiculous. So my thing is this. I think men need to become men. I think men need to be the leaders, and quite frankly, if a woman doesn't want to follow you, all right, cool, you stay single, but we're not going to sit here and tolerate the fuckery for women. And I think a lot of guys need to learn this skill set, because a lot of guys think, well, if I just be a nice guy, be a traditional guy, like girls are going to like me. Well, I'm here to tell you it's not 1955, it's 2025, and women have changed quite a bit. So you have to adapt to the new normal. So this is why, I wrote the book, Why Women Deserve Less, where I talk about how feminism has kind of come in and completely switched the sexual marketplace, where being a nice guy is actually detrimental for you. It'll get you put in a very bad predicament a lot of the times. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can get destroyed, because if you get married as a man in today's day and age, you take way more risk on, right? We know that women win 90% plus of child custody battles. We know 90% of alimony goes to women. We know women initiate 80% of the divorces. So if you go ahead and get married, you got a lot to lose, especially if you're an individual with a higher net worth. So guys need to really go in with their eyes wide open, because women will divorce you and destroy your life if they just get bored, right? I have a saying, you know, women will sacrifice their family for happiness, but men will sacrifice their happiness for their family, right? Because we understand that there's a burden of performance. From the time we're little boys, what do they say? Hey, become successful so you can go ahead and take care of a family, right? We're told this from the time we're young. So we always understood from a young age that we needed to not just be able to provide for ourselves, but have excess resources to be able to support a family. So, but we don't tell little girls to be good wives. We tell them, oh yeah, you could do everything a man could do. You could be an astronaut or whatever, you know. And some of these girls end up being astronauts for real on fucking OnlyFans, but that's a whole other conversation. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I think guys need to understand that this is the new normal that we're in, and you need to adapt. Does that mean treat women like shit? No. But what I am saying is that you absolutely need to make women earn your time, attention, and resources. So I'll end the monologue there. If anybody has any questions or comments or disagrees or agrees or anything, I'll turn it to you guys. Sure. Do we have mics for them, or do they? Okay, sweet. And it's open, guys. We could talk about anything you guys want. Obviously, I would just, the topic was feminism. I think we have a bit more time now, so.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I just want to say shout out to Castle Club,
Hey,
shout
what
out
up,
to
man?
Josie, shout out to Jake, shout out to the YouTube chat, shout out to the Roman chat. Y'all the goats. And thank you, Myron, for coming. And you the goat. And that's all I got to say.
Appreciate that, Jibril. It's one of our G's right there.
My bad. All right. Hey, how's it going? I just want to ask if, understanding that the law is a teacher and, kind of like laws and kind of shape like social taboos and kind of the society we want to live in. So kind of going off that, would you support banning women from higher education and repealing the 19th Amendment?
Repealing the 19th Amendment, for sure. I don't think women should vote.
That's all. That's fine.
And I know some people, that's probably a shocker for some people. Well, instead of laughing, let me explain why. There's actually a very logically sound reason why women shouldn't vote, and I'll go into it right now. So here's the thing. If you're going to vote, you need to have skin in the game, right? Because, if you're going to vote, you can effectively put in the commander-in-chief of the United States who can, obviously send armed forces over to other countries and get involved in wars, right? Now, here's the problem. Women don't have to join the Selective Service. I mean, I'm sure a lot of women here probably don't even know what the Selective Service is. The Selective Service is basically once you turn 18 as a man in the United States, you have to enroll in it, and if you don't, you could get penalty of fine, you can get put in jail. It's a very serious offense. And then on top of that, you don't get certain opportunities. You don't get loans, you can't get a government job, a state job. It basically makes you almost damn near a convicted felon. So if you're not in the Selective Service, it messes you up as a man. But as a woman, it's you don't have to go into it. So I look at it like this. If women are going to go ahead and be able to vote, I think they need to have skin in the game. And I find it ridiculous that a woman could put someone into office that will send a man to war when she doesn't have skin in the game. So that's my thing when it comes to voting. And let's be honest here. Most women don't really care about politics. They don't really care that much. If they do vote, they typically tend to vote left. They tend to vote single-issue voters on whoever gives abortion. Whichever candidate lets them kill babies, they're more interested in that candidate. They don't necessarily care about foreign policy or the more higher IQ stuff. So that's the reality, If you guys watch the Democratic National Convention, they just made it 100% femme-centric. They focused on social issues. They focused on abortion, a lot of smoke and mirrors, bring celebrities in, because they know that that's what their voting base is going to want, which, they're going to want the black vote and the woman's vote. That's what Democrats typically campaign towards. So, yeah, I don't think women should have the right to vote, and that's why.
Wait, what about women in college? What about the second part?
Women in college? So here's the thing. Though I am against women working, and I think that they should work electively and not mandatorily. I think the man should be the provider. I also understand that we're kind of here now, right? So what I think is we need to just be honest with women and tell them, look, you could pursue an education and a career, but you need to understand that it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for you to get both a family that you're satisfied with and a career. It's going to be very difficult to do both. We don't tell women that. That's the problem. And a lot of the times they don't wake up until they're in their 30s when all their opportunities have passed by them. Maybe they came across a good guy and they said, I'm just going to wait. That guy fades off. They can't find him. They can't reconnect with him because we tell women, hey, you have all the time in the world. So I think we need to be more honest with women and let them know that you have a finite amount of time to be able to cash in your chips and get the best guy that you can get and get in something more serious. So I think if we're a bit more honest, because let's be honest, women aren't going to go back in the kitchen now, right? They're not, right? As much as I'd love to send them back to the kitchen, they're not going back. The feminists have fought way too hard to gain all this ground to just give it back and, get back to touching spatulas and stuff. So the reality is, I think if we're more honest with women and told them, look, you got to pick one of the two and had that candid conversation, we'd be better off.
Hey, Myron, thanks for coming to South Carolina.
Hey,
Great
how
to
are
see you. I have an observation that's probably occurred to you, but I was wondering about your take on it. For men who are antisocial or have personality disorders or have mental illness, they typically end up in jail or attached to the legal system somehow. For women in that situation, they get married, they get divorced, and they get a lot of money, and they get set for life. So I just want to make sure that people, young men, are aware of that phenomenon.
No, I mean it's true. I mean, if a girl's pretty, like she can literally, even if she's this is why girls that are bimbos can still find a husband or still get married or still have a good life because unfortunately men don't really care about a woman's ability to create excess resources or her competency. Men don't care about that. So yeah, that makes sense. And then the guy gets with the girl and she's batshit crazy, like, well, who cares? She's hot. You know what I mean? So like that's how men operate, which is one of our faults, but.
All right. Well, like I said, I'm thankful for USC having you out, Myron. I've been listening to you just because, first I've been listening to, Nick Fuentes, and he's just had you on. You had him on. Yeah, he had you on you had him on Fresh and Fit, and just going off of that, I just kind of want to ask about what's your take on, kind of the trad wife movement and how I personally think it's kind of astroturfed, where it's almost just like this, like they've sort of like fetishized it. Where it's like even the trad wives, if you want to put it that way, many of them still have like an OnlyFans account. Many of them just like post way too much on social media. And, as a young Catholic, it's just like even the girls that I interact with, it's like they're still infected. Even the trad wives are like still infected with like first and second wave feminism to the point where it's like, I just don't know if I'm going to be able to find a wife at all.
Yeah, no. And that precisely what you described is why a lot of guys go abroad. But yeah, no, to answer that, I agree with you, man. I mean, Matt Walsh, I talked about this as well. He called out Megyn Kelly, thankfully, because Megyn Kelly is, what I would call, you use the term astroturf. There you go. There's an astroturf trad wife right there, right? She sits there and says, I'm a conservative, but in reality, she's just a feminist in hiding, right? And a lot of them are. And I think women have kind of caught on just with the explosion of popularity of, like, this type of content and, like guys finally getting their balls and, talking about problems in the dating space, where a lot of women have kind of like pivoted and realized, oh, this is a new grift. I can kind of come in here and be like a trad woman. But the reality is that a lot of these women are just feminists undercover. So I agree with you on that.
So, Myron, you said we should remove women's right to vote because they're not part of the draft.
Yeah.
So if we hypothetically either abolish the draft or made women subject to it, would you change your stance?
No, because women are physically inferior to men and shouldn't be in war anyway.
Well, okay, but would you not agree that some women are physically superior to some men?
One of the ladies back there said period? See? When it benefits them, they agree. They don't want to go to war. Somebody said period. They agree with me. All right, go ahead.
But would you not argue that some women are physically superior to some men? Some women are physically strong and some men are physically weak?
Sure, but these are exceptions to the rule, right?
Well, so why should they be excluded if they can meet the criteria?
Well, here's the thing. Now, this is what I'm a firm believer in. I think there needs to be one standard. If women could pass it, then sure. But I think in general, most women won't be able to pass it. And the other thing, too, is that keep in mind, guys, like when I say men are physically superior to women, I truly mean that. Like an average 15-year-old boy can beat up like 90% of 20-year-old women. Like that is how physically inferior women are. They literally are, everything about them is just inferior physically. Bone structure, muscle density, lung capacity, everything, right? High school boys like will play sports against like, collegiate and or professional women and smoke them. This isn't for me to be like, oh yeah, I hate women or whatever, but it's just the truth. It's the biological truth. So I don't think putting women in war is a good idea. And then the other thing too, and we could talk about this, the reality is when women are captured as prisoners of war, it's going to be a lot worse for them than for a man. And it's going to put a ridiculous amount of pressure on the United States to negotiate to get that prisoner of war out. This is precisely why the Israelis kill their citizens instead of instead of negotiate, right, with the Hannibal Directive. So what ends up happening a lot of the times, if you get a female prisoner, the enemy knows that they could go ahead and negotiate for far more, and they have more leverage from a diplomatic sense, and creates a geopolitical nightmare for the country that is trying to get them back. This is exactly why Israel has the Hannibal Directive, where if Arab militia fighters are kidnapping people, they'd rather kill those people being kidnapped than allow them to get back into Gaza or to the West Bank or whatever, because it puts them in a very bad situation on their back foot geopolitically. So, I don't think, for the purposes of prisoner of war, also men have a natural instinct to protect women. This is why women couldn't join infantry for so long, because when they're in infantry, the men are going to compromise the unit or do stupid things to go ahead and compensate for that woman's lack of strength or capabilities or whatever it is. Now, I think in maybe some support roles, maybe women can be involved, right, if they pass the physical standards or whatever, but I would make it very hard where, the women need to be in the top 1 or 2% to be able to get in the first place, and if they do, it'd probably be from a support role, because I'm not a firm believer in weakening our military, for social justice, and that's what we've effectively done, right? Women want to feel like they're equal and involved, and it's like, no, dude, this is war. We need the best.
Well, okay, so that answers part A of the question, but part B, say we just abolish the draft altogether, right? We have a very strong, very large standing army. We haven't used a draft in decades. Would you then change your position? Also, a follow-up question. You said a lot of women are not interested in the more high IQ parts of governing. Do you think that women are less intelligent than men?
No, we just have different interests. Women are just tend to be more interested in people. Men tend to be more interested in things. From an IQ perspective, men and women are very, very close, right? It's not much different. But most geniuses are men. But also most retards are men. So, we dominate both the good and bad side of the spectrum, but we tend to be in an average with women at the same level. But no, I think even if we abolish the draft, I wouldn't want women in the military, man. I just don't think it's a good idea. I think if they are in there, it's one standard and they'd be in support roles. I don't think they should be in active combat.
Sure, but I think the issue, and I don't want to take too much time. I know there's people waiting.
Sure.
I think the issue is you're supporting disenfranchising women of their right to have a say in government, which is going to make decisions upon what they can or cannot do based entirely on their eligibility for the draft. And I think that's more than a little bit extreme.
Well, that might be your opinion, but I don't think so. I think if you have skin in the game, then you should have a say. That's how it should go. So men and women aren't equal, right? So
what's up, brother?
What's up?
Love your stuff. Not here to debate, more just ask advice.
Sure.
Advice. So nowadays in dating, when it comes to boundaries, do you think it's better to find a girl that kind of fits your lifestyle and what you like to do? Or say you find a girl that's perfect in pretty much all areas, but she crosses like one of my boundaries that's like having guy friends or something like that. You think it's better to move to the next girl and find a girl that kind of brings peace to your life in all areas? Or some girls are great, they just don't understand a lot of aspects about dating that are beneficial to both parties. So just like, what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question, and that's actually a good one you just pointed. So when I said earlier, I was mentioning how like you need to kind of train your girlfriend to be the best girlfriend for your wife. A lot of that means like deprogramming bad habits. So one of them is like keeping guy friends around, want to go out with her single friends, wanting to still party. A lot of the times women want to be able to have a secure relationship with you while simultaneously still doing all the things they used to do while they were single. They like to, I call it the double dip. And your job as the man is to come in and be like, okay, well, that's done now. This double dipping thing, like I get it when you were single, but now that you're with me, we're going to have some standards and boundaries here. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? I want guys to really understand. Look at yourself like a prestigious law firm. If someone wants to go ahead and join your law firm, they need to have certain grades, certain recommendations, certain skill sets, certain things. I think as a guy, if you're a prize, a catch, you should make women earn that, right? Because they're only going to value the job if they had to fight to get it. And I think as a man, that's one of the most important decisions you can make. So if a girl isn't completely following your lead and not acquiescing to your life, well, then I would say she probably isn't the one, man, because you're the leader. You're the guy that's going to need her to be on your program, not the other way around. This is why I'm so against guys that like move across the country for a woman's job. I'm like, what the hell? Like, dude, now she controls the frame. And what ends up happening when she controls the frame is she's inevitably going to lose attraction for you. So I think guys really need to understand this, that like once she controls the frame and she's a leader in a relationship, and you might not even know it overtly. Like it could be something as simple as you moving across the country for her because her job went to Seattle. You want to, but your job is mobile and you move for her. Like that's in itself is bad, right? You uprooted your whole life for a woman. So I think it's better to get a woman that's going to acquiesce to you. And if she does have traits like that, what you mentioned, like having guy friends or whatever, I think it's important to like express those boundaries up front. And if she says no, then you know where she stands. She's kick her to the streets.
All right, sweet. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, yeah. But no, that's a problem that a lot of guys deal with, bro. So trust me. Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from. Yeah, that's a bad habit from feminism, right? Like this is like, if we, like 50 years ago, like women would just kind of understand, oh, it's not appropriate for me to talk to guys while I have a man. But nowadays you have to verbally express this. Like you have to train the feminism out of a lot of women. And I know a lot of women might get mad at me for saying that, but you truly have to get these bad habits out of them because women are just indoctrinated with that stuff nowadays, thanks to modernity. So. Yeah, if they're willing to listen, that's cool. That's good because at least that shows that she's like willing to learn and like hear you out, and that's very important. But if she's like, no, I'm not doing it, then fuck her, bro. So, yeah, guys, start looking at yourselves as a prestigious law firm, bro. Women are the ones that want to get married. Don't forget that. Like, I need guys to understand. You guys are the gatekeepers to relationships, right? You have to get down on one knee and give her a ring. She's gonna take your last name. She wants to get married to you. She wants to stay in a relationship with you, right? So make them earn it, man. Like they're the ones that want to be a missus. Make her work for it. Shit, you know damn well you have to work for it to fucking court her in the beginning.
So you said you had to work for it by courting her in the beginning, correct?
Yes.
So what do you mean by working for it? What exactly did you do?
As far as like what does the guy do?
Yeah.
Well, a man has to learn how to be attractive.
Hon, I hate to break it to you, but you don't need to learn how to be attractive. You just
Really?
are.
Okay.
And that's something you ain't. Okay, I want to bring up, talking about...
Let me address that first part real fast. So,
let me add on.
and then you can go ahead and, because I know you're probably going to an ad hominem attack, but that's fine. So let's address the first thing. You said you don't have to learn how to be attractive, you just are. So I've heard a couple of women say this actually, and it's always very interesting to me, right? I always say privilege is invisible to those that have it. And obviously for you, you don't understand the privilege you have. Men, unlike women, are not born with value. We have to learn how to be confident. We have to learn how to be attractive. We have to learn how to dress properly. We have to learn how to go to the gym. We have to learn how to be competent. We have to be able to have certain things in our background to make us attractive to women because women look for things that take time to acquire, resources, etc. So for women, when you guys turn 18, life is your oyster. You can literally go everywhere. You can do whatever you want. But men don't get these opportunities unless we make something of ourselves. So when women say things like, oh, you just are attractive, like, no, it's a learned skill. Men are not just born attractive. They have to figure this stuff out through a lot of turmoil, trial, and error, and sacrifice. So I always find it interesting when women say that because we don't operate on the same dating timeline as you guys. You guys are born with your value. We must create our value.
How are we born with our value? Please explain.
How are women born with their value?
Yeah.
You
well, you say you had to learn all that shit, right?
You literally have a vagina and titties. You are born with value.
Born with value.
Yes.
For having cut off your dick and you're the same person I am.
Not really. I'd still be a guy.
Like, anyways, I want to talk about voting.
Okay. All right. What's it? You want to talk about what now?
You said we don't have skin in the game.
Yeah, they don't really.
So
no.
your skin in the game is the fact that you have to go to war, and
Yes,
you're unhappy with that.
I never said that.
Well, you're complaining about, having skin in the game and that we shouldn't have the right to vote because we don't have skin in the game, but we don't have skin in the game because men set that system up.
Yeah, because women are physically inferior, and that's the truth.
Physically inferior.
Inferior, yes.
So you're telling me that you could beat a woman's ass?
Yeah. Yeah, I could. I mean, I never would, but yeah. Like.
Okay,
like.
I hate to break it to you.
Like, are you aware of the fact that, like, probably a 12-year-old boy can probably beat you up very easily?
Actually, I'm an educational psychology major, so they can't because they don't hit puberty till 14. And
even if they did, okay. Let's assume without puberty, he would still probably beat you up still.
Actually, he wouldn't because I have a brother and I'd beat his ass.
Anyway, again, I mean, I'm amazed that I have to explain this to a college student, but I mean, men are physically superior to women in almost every way.
I'm amazed that I gotta talk to this
general.
grown-ass man with dumb-ass things. Like, let's be for real.
Okay, so your argument is the whole voting thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, women don't have skin in the game, so they shouldn't vote.
We don't have skin in the game because men didn't let us have skin in the game. You do realize that, right?
Well, here's the thing. Y'all could join the military now. You guys could do everything now.
Yeah, we can because we fought for that right.
Yeah, but you guys don't use it. I find it interesting
We
how
don't use it?
y'all don't join though. Like, you know, it's
So
like
we don't use our rights?
y'all don't use it. It's not like you guys want to do a lot of these things. You guys fight for rights that you don't even use a lot of the times.
Like what?
So,
Like what?
oh well, women equality, right? All the time. Oh, we want to be able to do everything that men can do. But why is it that all the dominated by men? Why is it that men control all the infrastructure points, right? Why is it that men are the garbage collectors, men are the electricians, men are the power linesmen, men are the plumbers, men are the ones that literally keep society going so that you can enjoy the first world conveniences you do, right? So you can go ahead and have your bullshit psychology degree or whatever it is that you're studying. So the reality is that men make the world go round, and we civilize it to the point where you guys forgot that men really run shit, and we give you the opportunities that you have. So for you to sit there and be able to say something as ridiculous as, can you even beat me up, and you're questioning it, that goes to show how naive you are about the propensity of men to actually conduct violence. That's how civilized we are, which is obviously awesome because you're completely unaware of the savagery that men can, you know, put on a society.
Oh, I'm aware.
And
because
you're not,
look at
because
our
you wouldn't have said
country
something
today.
so ridiculous if you were.
I'm aware. Trust. Most women get raped, sexually assaulted. 99% of women get raped and sexually assaulted. You do know that, right? And because of
99%,
men's
yeah.
savagery.
Holy crap.
Because of men.
Women
Remember
need to
that.
hide. There's
Because of men.
There's a rape epidemic going on.
Like,
So anyway,
I'm pretty sure if I point to any woman in this room, they could tell me a rape story.
sure, maybe their fantasy. Who knows? I don't
Their
know.
fantasy?
I don't know. A lot of women read sex novels like that.
I want you to look at our country today that men have ran and look at how shit it is.
We're the strongest superpower in the world. What?
No, we're not.
Yeah, we
No,
are.
we're not.
Yeah, we are.
You know, countries are warning their people to stay away from us
What?
because of how shitty we are.
Do you realize people try to come here illegally every single day to become Americans and or get to live here with
You do
diminished
realize-
benefits, even if because they're not documented? Like you do
Oh, you
realize,
wanna
like I used to.
start on undocumented immigrants?
I used to work in immigration back in the day. I know this intimately. People literally try to sneak here under intense conditions and die a lot of the times while trying to come here. This is the best country in the world.
This is
Again,
not
more
the
privilege
best
that you
country
don't
in the world,
understand.
I'll tell you that much. I'm an immigrant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So that proves my point even more.
I didn't come here willingly.
You're here. Like,
I did not come here willingly.
oh, okay. How'd you come here then?
I came here because they paid me to.
Yeah, send her back, bro. God damn, man. Send her back, man.
You're talking
Okay,
about send
this
her
is why we
back,
gotta
yet
build
you
a
a
wall.
person of color?
I guess we're no longer getting the best and the brightest. What the hell? This is why I'm so big on,
You
like,
talking
you
about
know,
send me back, but you a person of color?
this is why I'm so big on we need to go harder with immigration.
I'm sorry, are you not black?
I don't know. It depends on the day. Some days people call me black. Some days people call me Arab. I don't know what it is, man. So.
Y'all looking at the same motherfucker I am? Because he's black, right?
Oh, man.
He a person of color, right? He a person of color, right? Shut the fuck up. I ain't talking to your
Bro,
ass.
I get more gray hairs talking to women than
I don't
dealing with
talk to white
cartel
people.
members.
I hate to break it to you.
Okay, so what's your last point? Because there's a bunch of people behind you, but
My point is,
yeah.
you're a pussy.
Okay, great one. Wow. Okay. I thought you'd come up with something wittier or funnier than that one. Like mom jokes. Are we in like 1997 or what? What's going on here? Where did she immigrate from? Retardistan? Holy. This is our college education system, man. God damn. All right. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm a big fan of the podcast.
Hey, how are
I
you?
just had a couple questions that I'm just kind of curious about.
Yeah.
So you said a little bit earlier that like high value men are like celebrities and athletes and stuff. Like, what qualities makes them high value?
Well, I didn't say that, but you know, I've also give some some prerequisites, right? Some rough prerequisites, because it's case by case, obviously. I would say income, your net worth, the people that you're associated with, your title, the ability to have other things in place, being in good shape, being an intelligent individual, being competent. These are some things that, are obviously very important to have.
Also, you also said that most women set up divorces, but who is most domestically violent towards women?
Surprisingly, it's actually women.
It's not.
Yeah, no, actually, no. So check this out. The highest domestic violence actually occurs a lot of the times between same-sex individuals who are women. And then the other thing also that's interesting is, because they did a whole meta-analysis on this, what they found was when there's violence only going one way, where one partner is beating on the other, it's typically women to men. They're beating on the man. But when it's, but the majority, obviously, of domestic violence is they beat on each other. So it's two-way. But when it's only one party attacking another, it's the woman to the man most of the time. So, I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have where, people think that, men are just beating up on women or whatever. It happens, but I don't think it's as prevalent as people try to say. And, this is like feminist propaganda to push certain things out and get certain legislation going or whatever. But the reality is that it's really the women that tend to be more violent with that stuff because women don't have a proper concept of violence. I'll explain this, right? So, see, the thing with men, right, is when men deal with each other, there's already inherent respect to a degree because we understand that we're capable of killing each other, right, because we have the physicality to do so. Women don't understand this that much, right? This is why, like earlier, I'll give you an example. When I was out doing the thing, the people that were heckling me the most were women, right? And the reason why they did that is because women don't understand the concept of violence and consequences, repercussions for talking shit because women don't get punched in the face by men, luckily, right? But men do. So if you say the wrong thing to a guy, you know that there might be a physical confrontation that can end your life. Women don't understand this concept for a multitude of different reasons because, obviously we live in a civilized world. Men don't really attack women like that, which is good. Women, when they do fight with each other, they're weak, so who cares? So in general, women don't have a proper concept of violence. So this is why they tend to be more violent because they don't understand the consequences and ramifications of it.
But who commits more violent crimes?
Men do in general, for sure.
Yeah, and it's against women a lot of the time.
Well, it's actually mostly against us.
Oh, it is against other men
it's
because
against
men are
us.
like a majority.
Yeah.
It's men, yeah.
Yeah, but men also create the world that you live in. Like, there's going to be pluses and negatives, right? So I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, men commit violent crime. They do, but when they do, it's typically against other men. And, there's going to be really good with really bad, right? Everything was pretty much invented by men. I actually did a double check. Why women didn't invent Wi-Fi, man? I went ahead and looked that up, and I was like, what the hell? They did not invent Wi-Fi. So, proves my point. Women don't invent shit. But, yeah.
Okay. I just think that's, kind of crazy to bring up during, domestic abuse, awareness month and, sexual violence awareness month.
The truth is the truth.
Okay.
Regardless of the month. I mean, if it was Black History Month, I'd make fun of black people, too. I don't care.
Okay. That's just crazy.
So... There's a black stereotype right there. Loud black woman in the back. Literally
What's up, bro?
fulfilling the stereotypes.
What's up, bro?
Yeah, and it was loud. You laughed and it was loud. Thank you for perpetrating the stereotypes, Shaniqua.
Couple questions. Where's Fresh?
What was that?
Where's Fresh?
Where's Fresh?
Yeah.
Definitely not with a Shaniqua, I'll tell you that.
All right, so valid subscriber for a long time. Actually, Ivan and Pritch put me onto your content when they were first talking shit to you.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, and I started listening to your shit, and I was like, okay, makes sense. I think most people, they don't really understand your content because, your majority of your content is positive with the Money Mondays, the credit game, the financial game, the putting influential people in your platform and letting them give their specific niches of what they do. It's
Thank
overall.
you for highlighting that, man.
Most definitely.
We appreciate that.
You clip farm, most definitely clip farm the after hour shows where majority of the people who
Bro, I don't even clip farm them. That's other people.
I was thinking about doing that actually. I do.
Go for it. You'll make a bunch of money.
I bet.
Bro, literally make a channel and take our stuff. I tell people all the time, I encourage them, if you take our content and clip it and put it on YouTube, you'll make money. Do it. I don't mind. I'm not going to content ID you.
Overall, the only thing I have, somewhat of a, you know,
Sure.
against is
Sure.
the them boys, like, or the quotations, or the historical, you know,
Yeah. What's
content.
your contention
like,
with it?
I feel like it's a little too controversial / divisive. Like, you know, I mean, it's you. I understand it, but damn, you know, with the goal of trying to gather as much people as possible to, like, you know, empower dudes and empower just individuals in general. Like, don't you think that's going against it a little bit with like the over controversial content?
Is there a particular thing within it that you're worried about, or is it just in general, like the
Like
entire?
in general, nothing too crazy. Cause I also fuck with your true crime shit. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I just feel like it's a little bit too divisive for.
Okay, I understand that.
Americans,
So
you know.
you have a kind of an issue with guys. He's referring to Jews. That's my code word for them. So you said that you like the true crime stuff, right?
I do. I enjoy it.
So I covered 9/11 extensively, right? Now, people would think commonly that some dude in a cave named Osama bin Laden somehow masterminded a terrorist attack with another guy named Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the uncle of Ramzi Youssef, and they were able to successfully pull off the most damaging and worst terrorist attack in U.S. history. When that's the official narrative, right? That came out, I think, in 2004, 2005, which Al Qaeda was definitely involved, right? I'm not one of these like crazy conspiracy theorists that's going to tell you, oh, it wasn't Osama. No, it was him. They did plan it. But I think to not identify the other participants in 9/11 would be not true to the crime, right? It wouldn't be true crime because I'd be lying to you. And I think we've been withholding certain things, and I stand for truth, whether it's through women, history, geopolitics, whatever. There was absolutely a Zionist entity involved in 9/11, and they've done everything in their power to withhold that information from people. We found out recently that JFK, when he was assassinated, Israeli intelligence was involved. We're finding out with RFK the same thing, and they've held these documents for 60, 80 years. I wonder why. So with 9/11, and I could quickly go through it if you guys want me to, but there was you guys want me to? All right. Let's go through it. Oh, I can already see some. Okay, Shaniqua in the back is mad. Don't worry, we'll get to you next. We'll talk about, you know, watermelon and fried chicken here in a second. So, the Kool-Aid assassins in the back. So let me kind of go through it, right? Because I see what you're saying. You're saying like, hey, this topic is very dangerous. It could get you banned. I understand your perspective. But what I'm going to share now, I guarantee most people here don't know. And, you know, they don't know because people don't talk about it because it's been suppressed. So on 9/11, the day of 9/11, there were 5 individuals that were on top of an apartment complex out in Jersey City, if I'm not mistaken, or Hoboken, one of these places right over the river. And they were there at about 8 o'clock in the morning, about an hour prior to the towers being hit. And what ended up happening was when the first tower got hit, they started celebrating and dancing, these 5 individuals. A woman is looking out to the towers with her binoculars, and she sees these 5 individuals dancing in front of a van. Well, that's weird. Why are these guys celebrating as the towers are on fire? And I'm not just talking about dancing. Like, these dudes are moonwalking. Like, they're doing some Michael Jackson type shit, right? They're going nuts, right? That's why she was able to see the commotion. So she calls the police because she thinks that's kind of weird, and they look Middle Eastern. So the police catch up to them. She gives out the description of the van and the license plate. Police catch up to them, and they stop them. When the officer approaches the car, guy gets out immediately. We are not Palestinian. Those are your enemies, right? It's like, what the hell? That's kind of a weird thing to say when you're getting stopped. So they check the guys out, and they're 5 Israeli citizens, right, with large sums of cash and plane tickets to leave the country the next day. And they're driving a van called Urban Moving Systems. It's like, this is weird, so they call the FBI. FBI bring these guys in. They run their names through their databases. They find out that 2 of them have ties to Israeli intelligence. Well, that's weird. These guys were there an hour before the towers hit. They're dancing and celebrating. And then they asked them, hey, did you guys have prior knowledge that this was going to happen? They said no, but they got polygraphed and they were lying. And then they end up holding those guys in jail for about 70 days, immigration custody. And then ended up getting deported, getting sent back to Israel. And they went on a talk show, and they admitted that they were there to document the event, right? Which means they had foreknowledge that the towers are going to be hit. Now, that's just one component. That doesn't account for a bunch of other Israeli art students that were caught all across the United States spying across government buildings. The DEA wrote a whole memo about it, where these Israelis were behaving like art students to get access to the buildings and being interns, and they end up getting caught up in aspiring as well. And this is all leading up to 9/11. Then you find out that the buildings were purchased by a guy named Larry Silverstein, cha-ching, and he took out a very unique and unorthodox insurance policy that covered for terrorism. And then Building 7 went down in a perfect controlled demolition style, nice and even, and it never got hit by a plane. That was one of the small towers on the side of the World Trade Center. That went down randomly. And then witnesses on the ground said that they heard a bunch of bombs, right? They heard bombs. The firefighters that were there on the scene. Then it gets more interesting. And this is something that a lot of people don't know, and I'll share this with you guys. Shout out to my guy, Ryan Dawson. He talks about this in detail. You guys should go watch the documentary Empire Unmasked, where he covers all this. I'm summarizing a lot for you. Another group of Israelis were caught out in Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. And they were arrested as a part of a document benefit fraud conspiracy. On one end, you're like, oh, okay, these guys have fraud documents, whatever. Well, they find out that those guys were intelligence as well, and it gets crazier. One of them had a slip that shows that they were at the World Trade Center a month or two before 9/11, okay? And there was a woman that was going to testify against them that at the DMV, because she worked at the DMV giving these guys fake licenses and stuff like that. She was going to testify against them on behalf of the FBI. Before she went to court, she ends up dying in a fiery car crash all of a sudden, randomly, right? Keep in mind, Mossad has the most complete assassinations of any intelligence agency in the world. That's the CIA functional equivalent for Israel. So you have this witness that's dead. You have these guys that were in the World Trade Center prior that are Israeli intelligence. They were there to do sprinkler maintenance, but the Port Authority who runs the World Trade Center didn't have a permit for them to be there. So what were they doing there, right? And then when you look at the World Trade Center, the way it went down, again, looked like controlled demolition, right? I interviewed Richard Gage on my show. He's an engineer. 3,000 plus engineers have put their career on the line saying, like, this was absolutely a controlled demolition for the Twin Towers and for Building 7. So look, I'm not saying the Israelis did it, but what I will say is that there's absolutely Zionist fingerprints all over it. So and they had at least at bare minimum foreknowledge of what was going to happen, and they facilitated happening. And then it gets even better. That moving company I told you about, remember they had the vans? FBI does a search warrant at the headquarters. The head of the company is a guy named Dominic Suter. They go and do the search, and they find a bunch of computers and stuff. Not likely for a moving company. Why do you guys have all these computers, all these hard drives? So they call Dominic Suter. Hey, man, I want to bring you in for an interview. What does he do? Flees to Israel. Dude turns into Goku, instant transmission. Right? Gone. He went to Israel. To this day, they still don't have him. And then on top of that, computers, all these those. But you can look at the FBI 302s now. This is all true with these Israelis being involved. And then I haven't even talked about Team E11, how they were in the towers before, and all this other stuff. But where there's smoke, there's fire, man. So there was absolutely foreknowledge. Now, to answer your question, you're saying, hey, why talk about this stuff? Well, I guarantee a bunch of people here did not know that. They probably went off the official narrative. Hey, some dude in a cave planned an attack against us. It was Al-Qaeda, and that's it. No, it was way more than just that. So that's really what it is, man. I think that's why it's important to get that stuff out there. And then obviously what's going on in Gaza right now, I think that's something that's also important to talk about, because we got kids getting killed every single day and getting bombed. And we're supporting, the extermination of children. So people need to understand the history to realize how we're in this position now where we have a foreign government controlling our government, and we're paying our tax dollars to the foreign government to kill kids. That's why I talk about it.
Yeah, our generation isn't cooked, though. Have faith. Nothing else. Just keep up the work, I guess. Yeah, people are going to hate you because they don't understand. No. Like, when you come at certain information with an emotional attachment, you're not going to be open to, like, understand specific views. So they'll hear you say some, they'll hear you say, oh, women deserve less. And then they're like, what the fuck did this nigga just say? The women deserve less. But then when you really, break it down and you get your point of view, you don't have to agree with the person. But I don't think it's, genuine and good faith to come at them like a negative and just throwing insults. Like, you got to honestly, just give your specific just give your feedback, and then try to get a dialogue going so you can, get some gears turning.
Yeah, but see, you got to remember that assumes that people on the left have critical thinking skills and or can control their emotions. They typically don't. They spurg out and get wild. They protest, they get loud, whatever. So they don't want to have conversations. Keep in mind that censorship is a liberal thing. They're totally pro-censorship. They don't want to have discussions because they know that we got the truth on our side, you know? So.
All right, well, nice meeting you, bro.
No, pleasure, man.
Safety.
Hey, so we provide more value than anus and reach, I see.
Most definitely. Like, I don't know. Whenever they, I think it was the first attack they did, put me on, and I was against your ass. I'm not gonna lie, cause I'm like, but then I'm like, this nigga actually spitting some shit.
Hey, I've said it before, man. Anus and reach aren't gonna help you become better, man. They just give mindless content to entertain, but they don't help guys improve. So my goal is to not just identify the problem, but also to solve it.
Yes, sir. All right.
Hey, man, thank you. And thanks for that question. It let me go into the 9/11 thing, which I always love talking about that stuff. So.
Thank you for coming, Myron. I actually wanted to ask you a more politically based question.
Sure.
So I work in political conservative broadcast media. We're an affiliate of Fox News. And the guy's last question actually perfectly sums up mine because it has to do with the Jewish question and, Jewish subversion of politics, Jewish control over our media and whatnot. I personally have seen firsthand the implementation of Jewish control over conservative media and how it subverts issues like what you're talking about today with women's rights. You can go into immigration or, racial tensions in America, all that kind of stuff, and how it's actually being subverted on the right wing as well. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you, do you think it's more important at this point in time, now that Donald Trump is the president, to not lose focus of the left, because they are still out there? I mean, obviously they're in this room right now, but to shift attention more to subversion on the right wing?
That's a damn good question. I do think that there's a great noticing going on. I think the war in Gaza has kind of exposed a lot of Americans to, who really runs this government. The fact that Israel's been able to do the things that they've been able to do over the last year and a half prove that our government is compromised and it's occupied. Look around right now. A lot of you guys are college students. Some of you guys are maybe here on a student visa. You guys can't criticize Israel. If you do, there's a chance that ICE might show up and arrest you, and that's absolutely crazy to me, right? We're expending resources going after people that are legally here on their political views versus if they had criticized Donald Trump, we wouldn't care. So that should show the enormous amount of influence they have. But yes, they've controlled conservative media for a very long time, and it's good to see that people on the right wing are finally starting to wake up and realize this, whether it's myself or Candace Owens or Nick or Dave Smith, any of these people. We're waking up. Ian Carroll, a lot of prominent voices out there. But I think identifying, just talking about it in itself is doing quite a bit because now they're scrambling. They're going crazy, right? You got people like Doug Murray showed up on the Joe Rogan podcast trying to tell them, well, you need to watch who you bring as a guest. Have you ever been there, right? Like all this bullshit. So they're trying to definitely do damage control, but I think the genie's out the bottle, man. People are starting to wake up, and people are figuring out with JFK, people are figuring out with the USS Liberty, people are figuring out with 9/11, the links, and people are asking these questions that historically would get you banned. So, and then you got people like Hassan Piker, who's on the far left, right, agreeing with guys like me, who you might consider me on the far right. And I think, and this is the only time I've ever seen people on the far left and on the far right actually agree on something, and it's on this Israel topic. So I think more people are waking up, and it's great, man, because I will tell you, prior to October 7th, if you talked about this, bro, cooked. You'd be banned. And this being in conservative media, right? Like, you just get blacklisted. So it's good to see that people are waking up, and we can at least have this discussion now, finally.
Thank you for coming.
No worries, man. What do you think about, Trump's affinity for Israel? It's pathetic, to be honest with you.
Like the anti-Semitic act? Or not that, he just put someone in front of anti-Semitism, which is basically
No, it's a problem, dude, because it infringes on our First Amendment, right? So, and it's funny, too, because Donald Trump is a victim of censorship. If you guys remember, after January 6th, they banned him everywhere. And then on his first day in, when he signed that executive order, it was an executive order actually to prevent the government from colluding with social media companies to suppress free speech of U.S. citizens. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. And then I see him, sign this anti-Semitism bill. And the thing that concerns me the most about this anti-Semitism bill, for those that are unaware, and any of you guys that are here that are college students that are visa holders or whatever, I don't want you guys getting deported, so obviously be very careful about sharing these things, these views. But the anti-Semitism bill is based on the definition of anti-Semitism. Well, what is the definition of anti-Semitism? Well, it's an ever-changing definition based on the International Holocaust Remembrance Association, or IHRA. And if you go to the website, it literally says working definition, which means they can change it at any time. And the reason why that's problematic is because that's the root term for these anti-Semitism laws. So, you know, they can literally change it to whatever they need to fit their political agenda. So I think pretty soon, if they haven't already, I think they might have already done this, like being critical of Zionism or Israel is going to be considered anti-Semitic. So that's kind of where we're going, man. You know, they're infringing on our First Amendment rights for a foreign nation, which is wild. But I think the more awareness we bring on this and we talk about it and, you know, we tell our politicians that this is unacceptable, that's our best weapon, is uniting and using our speech to criticize it. Jump in line, man. Jump in line. Jump in line. This guy. Jump in line, bro. It's fine. Jump in line. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up, Myron? Long-time supporter, man, since 2021. Y'all may know me, the poet, Cam 2 times.
Yeah, the poems.
Sir. And
this is the guy that writes, if you guys watch the show, he writes the funny poems about the 304s, man. It's funny.
Yes, sir, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, and shoot, drove 5 hours to get here and come see. And what I want to ask is like, what do you think would happen if all people that were aware, red pill, Republican, conservative, and black pill or whatever, and they wasn't afraid to come out and express that they're about feminism and their political beliefs, etc.
We'd be a much better off country, right? Like, every revolution was led by men. Every change was led by men. We can't depend on women to do it because they're not going to do it, because it's always men that have, you know, picked up a sword and fought for their beliefs. It's never women. So, you know, if we want things to change and we want to, you know, make America great again, I hate to use that term, but really great. I mean, we're great now, but like being great for real, back to like, you know, like a 1950s era where, you know, one income can support a household, and, you know, we had the nuclear family, and we had, you know, the 2 kids, and, you know, the white picket fence, etc. It's going to be the men that are going to need to do that. It's not going to be the women. So I think the guys need to step up and lead the change.
Yes, sir. And sure, I got something for the fellas.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're getting money, you shall become every single girl's type. But if you're acting like a simp, she will never let you pipe. If you treat your girl like a queen, she will get bored and go swallow another man's cream. And the most important, the most important part of the game is to have her into your frame. A cheat slaying soldier always must stay maintained within his masculine frame, which is to keep your girl tame, and her guts you shall rearrange.
Okay, I like it, man. The poet in the house, man.
It's my time. All right.
Yep.
Well, I didn't want to low pressure guy here. I didn't have any questions, of course. I just wanted to show just straight love, you know.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, for sure. The closing sentiments of men, you know, you telling everything that we want to say, of course. You big bro, you know, the big bro we all wish we had. It's actually kind of crazy. Thank you for adjusting that, by the way. It's crazy that you came here, you know. I'm always, you know, watching the show, trying to get out to Miami, stuff like that. Well, not physically, but, you know what I'm saying. I always want to be there.
Yeah.
You know, of course, because y'all always got stuff going on. Got to show love, because when I bumped into y'all, start hitting the gym, stuff like that, getting my figures up. Also, you know, showing love for the Avengers, all that good stuff. Because, you know, these guys, they don't watch that stuff late night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., you know, we up with the gang, you know, all that good stuff. That was it. Masterclass, yeah, masterclass earlier. I had to watch the live, you know, you was doing the people outside. Masterclass, yeah, with that girl with the frames. I like how you did that, you know, because you could have did a lot worse. And, you know, everybody always calling you a bad guy, but you didn't attack her. You know, you didn't attack her personally, anything like that. You just let her flame out on her own, like you always do usually. Different type of guy, you know, under pressure, all that good stuff. Much better speaker than Charlie Kirk, because I know that's, you know, he always doing his thing. This is kind of like his adjacent, but, you know, you much better than that. Much better under pressure, all of that good stuff. Hope this makes it somewhere, you know, but.
Yeah, we're live right now, bro. They see you. It's somewhere.
Oh, yeah, that's what's up. You know,
yeah, we're live right now, bro. So
yeah, I'm not. I did tune into the live before I came up here.
Yeah.
But that's all, man. I just had to show love because, you know, a lot of people not, you bumped into the coach gang, sassing, you know. I ain't gonna go into the other guy. Somebody mentioned him earlier, you know, if you're thinking about that.
Yeah, we got a lot of haters, you know what I mean? But it's funny because, you know, I kind of knew, like, I was like, man, they make all these videos on us there's got to be people that convert, because like you get curious, like who are these guys that they're always talking smack about? And then like they might tune in and be like, oh damn, they teach guys how to, you know, get their credit score up or how to invest in real estate and stuff. Because like I'm real big into real estate, because I knew if I'm gonna have these opinions, I need to get like consistent revenue from elsewhere, because the internet might kick me off. So that's kind of why I have this like attitude where I say what I want to say, and I'm not controlled, because I have my passive income coming in and I can go ahead and do what I want to do, and I'm not controlled. Unlike a lot of other YouTubers who are like slaves to the AdSense and everything, because we've been demonetized for like 2 years. That's why like when that girl tried to say that, like, you've been demonetized, I'm like, yeah, and we're still here. Like, that, if anything, most YouTubers can't survive that. So that's the beauty of having other things in place so that, you know, you can't be controlled. So
another thing I did forget what I was gonna say. You mind if I consult a note right quick? Yeah, but I did want to say this is kind of like, you know, having an A-list, B-list celebrity, because these guys, they wouldn't treat like a LeBron or something like that. But you know, you guys in the red pill, you know, y'all doing y'all thing. I don't want to classify all of y'all, you know, red pill, but you know, just those guys, you know, that come around the table doing their thing financially. Thank you for adjusting that, my man. I don't have much else to say. I didn't want to go off on the glaze fest.
Yeah.
But I just, I gotta show you, you know, love, you know, all that heckling and stuff. And
no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, no, it's a good turn, because yeah, I've been getting a lot of hate since here. But I kind of, bro, I'm used to it, man. At this point, like, you know, anytime you tell the truth, you're gonna have problems with people, right? Especially when the world is filled with lies. So that's just what it is, right? We can't be honest or tell the truth anymore. Like, these are things, like, I mean, think about it. Donald Trump, when he campaigned, he literally said, I'm campaigning on common sense. That should tell people where we are as a society. If the president, if someone that's running for president of the United States is saying, I'm campaigning on common sense, have we really went that far left? So, you know, some girl comes up earlier today and says, I identify as XYZ. Well, how many genders are there? She couldn't even tell me. She didn't do that good. Yeah, like, personally. So that's where we are. But who's up next? Thanks, man.
All right. Hey, Mom. I know you're going to see this. Myron, I think you're funny. And also, I just wanted to ask, like, when people kind of reject what you got to say, how does it make you feel? Do you feel anything? I mean, I know we're like randoms in your eyes and shit, but.
No, I mean, I don't get offended. I understand that, like, some people might not like the way we deliver it. So just off of that alone, people might not take the advice or heed it. But, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I'm totally comfortable with the fact that I'm going to offend 50 to 80% of the people I speak to. I'm totally okay with that, because I think we're in a situation now where we've gone so crazy to the left that you need someone almost like a megaphone saying the stuff that I'm saying to kind of try to course correct.
And I guess what did you think of like the election last year? How did you like? What were your views on it?
I'm just glad we don't have a female president, man. Holy that would have been bad. Kamala would have messed us up. Look, I'm critical of Trump. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, I've been very critical of, you know, MAGA tards and people that are stupid. But I do think that him being in is significantly better than having Kamala in, right? Because my most important thing is foreign policy. So I want to avoid wars. And, you know, clearly the Biden administration couldn't keep that. And we would have got another 4 years of that with Kamala.
Well, I mean, that's mostly what I came to say. Other than that, like I said, I find you funny. I tune in when I need to laugh, but right. You do make some good points sometimes. So
no, I appreciate that.
I feel like people shouldn't just needlessly throw the tomatoes at you.
Yeah.
They should take the time to listen.
They get offended, bro, because they listen with their feelings, right? So
yeah.
They get offended and they can't get past the way I say things or tone or something else like that. So it's all good.
All right, it was good talking to you though, Myron.
All right, no worries, man. Same.
Hey, Myron, how's it going?
Oh, what's up?
I apologize for the randomness of this question. We went from talking about feminism to 9/11, but
sure.
Another political question. What are your thoughts on trans women using women's bathrooms?
Unacceptable. Weird.
Yeah, but the thing is, and I don't think this gets asked enough, how exactly are we going to prevent that from happening and stop them? Are we just going to pull up everyone's skirt that wants to go in?
You know, that's a good question. This might be controversial, but look, I don't like public displays of affection. I don't like it whether it's heterosexual or gay. I think it's problematic because, you know, I think anywhere where kids can be, that shouldn't be shown. If it were me, like, let's say I was like the president or, you know, the prime minister or the Führer, I would basically make it where there's like gay zones where if you want to go ahead and, you know, have PDA and the gay clubs and all the other stuff, that's in your section there. And then when you come out into regular society, you know, you can't do that stuff. Because I do think that kids seeing that is just not natural. It's not good. This is why I'm against, gays and lesbians adopting children, because children need a mother and a father. They need that polarity. So, this whole bathroom thing, that's a microcosm of a much bigger problem where we're accepting people's Looney Tunes worldview of, oh, I identify as, a woman when they're a man. And then we've seen it lead to problems where women are being assaulted, they're being attacked. And, these people are just not well in the head, man. And I don't think we need to go ahead and play their Looney Tunes game with them, right? It's two genders, right? At the end of the day, if, a guy that thinks he's a woman, once he passes away and archaeologists exhume the body or whatever, they're gonna look at the bones and be like, this was a guy. It's a definitive thing. And the fact that we're even, saying that there's more than two genders or whatever is ridiculous.
I see, but is the sexual assault argument really valid? Because isn't that the equivalent of looking at, for example, a black person who robs a gas station, shoots the clerk, and then saying, oh, this is a tragedy. This never would have happened if we would have just outlawed black people from going into public spaces like gas stations. Isn't that identical to saying trans women shouldn't go in there on the basis of sexual harassment?
No, I mean, I don't think men should be entering the woman's bathroom ever.
I got that. And
whether they want to identify as a woman or not, I don't think they should ever be going in there. It's inappropriate and strange. It's pretty simple, cut through. You know what I mean? I think the whole the example you gave with robbing a gas station isn't the same.
But I'm definitely more on the progressive side.
Because you don't choose your skin color, but you can go ahead and choose your gender, which is kind of weird.
Well, the thing is, I agree with you that there are indeed only two genders, and I don't think trans women are women. I don't think trans men are men. But the thing is, if somebody wants to transition, that doesn't really affect my life. I don't care if you do that. In fact, I know I'm going to get tomatoes thrown at me for saying this, but I don't even care if you use the women's bathroom.
Well, I mean, that's easy for you to say from that position because you're a man and you're capable of defending yourself if something happened, but a lot of women aren't. And I think we need to put things in place to protect the women. As much as people actually make fun of me or attack me for saying that I shit on women all the time, actually a lot of the things that I say are to protect women. I think we need to keep them out of female sports. I think we need to keep them out of female bathrooms. And, that's to protect women and little girls. So a lot of the times when I say the things that I say, it's thinking of society in the broader sense, right? So when I say hey, we shouldn't have gay people or heterosexual people having public displays of affection, that's because of kids. I don't think sexual degeneracy, open sexual degeneracy is appropriate for children because children are very impressionable. So when I'm talking about the bathroom thing, right, what if a little girl's in there and then some strange individual that's a dude comes in and is standing to pee? That's weird. They shouldn't have to experience that as a kid. So that's my thing. It's always because you're an adult, you're an able-bodied male, you don't care. That's cool. But my thing is I'm looking at the little girls that go use that bathroom and some weirdo with a beard comes in. That's unacceptable.
And that's a fair argument also. Is it true someone threw a bag of bugs at you earlier today?
I didn't even notice. I didn't know. Someone put a bag of bugs? That's funny, man. People are weird. See, I've always said that leftists are far more violent and strange about their stuff. They won't have a debate. Instead, they're going to go gather a bunch of bugs and put in a bag. That's strange.
Yeah, liberals are fucking weird sometimes.
Yeah,
luckily I'm not a liberal.
Yeah, no, you seem like a sensible one, but
well, I'm a centrist, so that means I have
strong
stances that get me booed and hissed at by both sides.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There's not many of us out there, but anyway, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries.
What's good? My name is Trey.
What's up, Trey?
But I had two quick questions. One,
sure.
So I got 4 roommates, right? Oh, so 4. My fault. I got 4 roommates, right? There was 5 of us, and them 4. They bring multiple girls into the house. I don't think it's right, you know what I'm saying? But they say it's their method of finding, the right one. Because, they don't think, talking to one, it's time effective. If they talk to multiple, bring, every day, bring a new one in. So are they right?
Well, so I do think in today's sexual marketplace, men do need to get experience with women so they can identify the women that are worthy versus the ones that aren't because the days of being able to meet a girl and she kind of comes pre-assembled and ready to be your wife, those days are kind of done. So guys kind of have to vet women in a significant fashion because a lot of girls are good at selling purity. And if you're not able to identify that early on, you might end up marrying a girl that you thought was pure and then you find out later on she wasn't and she basically, got you. So, but at the same time, chasing after women all day is, very bad for you as a man because the problem is the process of getting laid and getting a lot of girls is very time consuming and takes you away from your purpose. So there's got to be like a balance there, right? And I tell guys all the time, I think when you're young in your 20s, you should really be focusing on like getting your status and your money up. You want to leave the dating and the womanizing and all that other stuff until later on, once you have a foundation, because what ends up happening is if you chase women throughout your 20s, it's kind of a double whammy, because at one end, you're chasing after women and you don't have a high sexual market value, so you're going to have to work a lot harder to maintain her. And then on top of that, the pursuit of women in itself is time consuming and will hurt your bottom line of being, taking more hours at your job, pursuing higher education, whatever. So it's like a double whammy. So I tell guys, get your career kind of set in place first. Like you can date here and there, but like the priority should be like increasing your income. And then, you can focus on the women later, because one of the beauties about us as men is that like we have more time than women do. Women kind of have a finite amount of time to make something happen. With us, we got more time. So you don't want to waste the years where you have the most energy, and you should be productive on chasing hoes.
Right. Clap. You said what? It should be grinding. Yeah, put in that groundwork. My other one, switch a topic, because I know some people had the question like, wait, you have a girl?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Okay, yeah. So like, how how do your mother or your girl feel about like your anti-feminism like ways, or what I'm saying?
They agree. My mom was actually the one that told me a lot about a lot of this stuff. Like she was the one that told me, hey, you want to get a woman that's going to cook and clean for you, obey you. Like she told me this when I was a kid, and I always thought that she was crazy. But she was right, because my parents are still together today. They're from Sudan, Muslim country. And they kind of just understand, men and women are different, and women have roles and men have roles, and it just works. And it's worked since really the beginning of time. So, it's only now that we have this whole feminism, equality thing, and we've clearly seen over the past 60 plus years that it just doesn't work. So we've seen the birth rates plummet, we've seen divorce rates, increase, we've seen more unhappy women than ever before, despite the fact that they're more liberalized than ever before. So clearly, egalitarianism and equality doesn't work as much as we thought it would. So, but they share my views. I mean, my girl, she knows what it is, right? So, yeah.
Cool. That's all I had. It's cool.
Cool. No problem.
All right, I know I asked a question before, but just to preface this, I know this is going to piss off probably everybody in the room, but you said that this was kind of open mic, kind of you've talked about the JQ stuff, you talked about women, you talked about that. So what I want to bring up is two incidents. The first happened on this campus roughly about a month ago, where a guy named Nate Baker, as a junior, was just plowed over and ruthlessly killed by some illegal immigrant in a car, and he was wanted by ICE. All of that stuff. But the real incident I want to talk about is what happened in Frisco, Texas about a month ago, which was the murder of Austin Metcalf by Carmelo Anthony. And why has Donald Trump not said a single word about this issue? How long are we going to let white people be murdered in the streets before we do something? I am tired of this.
Well, no, I mean, I see some of you guys are laughing, but the reality is if it was the other way around, you guys would be burning down the city, if we're going to be honest here, right? Got the black one in the back screaming and laughing at him.
And I don't want to make this look like I'm
hold
a
on. Let me, because this is the thing, because a couple of the people here are laughing at your rage, but I find it interesting that if it was the other way around, they can burn down a city like Minneapolis over George Fentanyl, but if he goes ahead and expresses some rage, you guys laugh at him, which is interesting to me because they can't be honest about this, where there is seriously a problem in America where a small percentage of people are committing a majority of the violent crime. What? Black men account for maybe 8% of the population, but they're committing something like 50 to 60% of the violent crime, and they can't talk about this, right? So I do think that there's a problem here where we need to address black culture. We need to address the degeneracy. We got to address the violent gang and rap culture, and it's an issue. And the thing is that, guys like him can't speak up about it. He speaks up about it, and then we got black girls in the back laughing at him. But, when they kill a black man, y'all are rioting all over the place and burning cities down, and nobody says anything to you guys. So I think he has a right to be pissed off. I was pissed off when I saw it.
I just have kind of a follow-up to that. I just have a follow up to that. You talking about this is kind of like a socioeconomic thing, a culture thing. Well, if that's true, why have the crime rates kind of stayed the same since the 60s, since the civil rights movement, even before rap music? Speaking on that rap music, why doesn't rap music make white people go just murder people in the streets? Is this a culture thing, or is this just simply a race issue?
There's a couple things. Now, this is going to be very controversial, but it's an IQ thing too. Yeah. It's an IQ thing, and this is what's banned a lot of the times. That I got to we're on YouTube, so I'll kind of say this in code word, but it's a multitude of different things. It's culture, it's IQ, it's heritage. All these things play a role. But yeah, there's a bunch of different issues, right? It's a two-tier justice system. There's so many different things that play into it. But I have a saying: around the blacks, never relax. So take from that what you will.
Living around white people is not a human right. You don't get to live with us all the time, all right? This is our country that we built. Yeah, white immigrants built this country. Thank you. Read the Naturalization Act of 1790.
No, it's the truth. This country was founded by white Protestant
And yes,
men.
I understand that black people have been a part of this country since the beginning because of slavery, and I'm not
I
endorsing
think the girls
slavery.
over there don't like what you're saying.
And I know that, yeah. Yeah, and the logical consequence of slavery is that, you have these people displaced in this country, and, at the time, maybe the better choice should have been to just send them back to Africa. Because clearly they can't integrate in a proper society and live with us without just murdering each other in the streets. So it really kind of makes you think, well, now, it's baked in now. What can we do about it? And, some people I watch Nick, like Jason Whitlock, he had that thing with Jason Whitlock where Jason Whitlock says, oh, well, if they're just Christian, man, then, things would be different. But then you look at countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo. That country's 95% Catholic, roughly. And they have one of the highest murder rates in the world. And, their country's it's a failed state. And it just really makes you think, it's not a culture issue, it's not socioeconomic, it's not religion, then, what is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, IQ does play a huge role in it. And that's the thing that people don't like to discuss. But, yeah, no, that's true, man. I mean, the truth hurts sometimes for people. But yeah, they've done meta-analysis on this with IQ and race, and the data doesn't lie, In general, black people tend to have lower IQs, so it is what it is.
All right, I got two quick questions. One about politics. I'll start with that, and then one about women. I'm a big MAGA guy, big Trump guy, but there's been a lot of stuff opened my eyes recently. When he did the Antisemitism thing, like I talked about, I didn't really like that. Also with Real ID brought by the Patriot Act in 2005, just like that he's going to implement
And
that.
you know who co-wrote the Patriot Act, right?
I do not.
It was a guy named Mike Chertoff.
Gotcha.
Which which dual citizen.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what do you like? Do you think Trump, in a sense, is more bought than he was in the first term?
100%. 100%. I mean, back in 2015, he was making fun of Marco Rubio for taking money from the Adelsons.
Yeah.
This time around, he took $100 million from her on this last go around by himself, right? That's just all for her. She gave him $100 million. I think in total he's received something like $200 or $300 million from the Adelsons or from the Zionist lobby. So, yeah, man. I mean, the reality is when you get large sums of money like that, your policy is going to be, kind of curtailed to what they want. And for her, she's a hardcore Zionist, and she's obviously very interested in preserving Israel against its enemies. So he's going to have a very pro-Israel policy because they've given him quite a bit of money. And I always tell people, if you want to see what a president's policy is going to be, don't necessarily listen to what he says during his campaigns or when he's, on the campaign trail. Look at who's giving him money. That's going to tell you, and look at what their interests are, right? Elon Musk, Myron Adelson, some of his biggest donators. Well, what's he doing? Pushing for deregulation, and he's H-1B visas, and he's trying to help out Israel as much as possible. The people that donate the money dictate the rules, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't that way. I think it's problematic. I'm sorry? I think he's better than Kamala. I think it was, we're kind of in a situation where we would have just got another 4 years of Biden if Kamala got in. But I do think that with Trump, at least, he'll be able to at least control Netanyahu to a degree, and he at least talks with Russia, versus the Biden administration didn't talk to Putin for years, which is crazy to me. So, you know, there's always going to be negatives and pluses. Like, no president is ever going to make you say, oh, yes, everything he does is awesome. Like, I look at it like, if 50% of the stuff they do is good, that's good enough. I'm very pragmatic in that sense. But yeah, man, I mean, if you look at the donors will tell you what his policy is going to be. And we know Elon Musk and Myron Adelson are some of the top ones. So Israel and tech and AI are going to be huge.
What about some of the like conservative media that's more pro-Israel? I know you've talked to Nick Fuentes. I listen to more of his stuff now that my eyes have gotten open to this.
Sure.
Like, what are your thoughts on him and Candace Owens kind of getting banned by Turning Point and the Daily Wire and stuff like that? Like, do you think the Daily Wire and Turning Point
Well,
are
they're
really
scared of
saying the truth,
discourse.
or-
They're scared of discourse. The reality is simply this. Support of Israel is an indefensible position. I was streaming the other day, and I showed a clip from President Nixon where he was asked in an interview back in the 90s, in 1992, you know, hey, why do we support Israel? In your book, you admitted that there's not really much strategic value in supporting Israel. And he basically said, for moral reasons, right? And I was like, oh, moral reasons. You mean more like blackmail and the fact that they own our politicians. But that's kind of what it comes down to. There is no strategic benefit to supporting Israel. So people like Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, et cetera, these, you know, hardcore Zionists, they don't want to have that discussion because it's really an indefensible position. There's no reason why we support Israel the way that we do. They've created more problems for us than good. You know, I think anyone with eyes can see that. The Iraq War, all of our wars in the Middle East in general, it's been because of Israel. That's why those guys were dancing, because they knew when those towers were on fire that we were going to go ahead and take out all their adversaries in the Middle East. And if you look at it now, you look back at the clean break memo that was written back in the 90s by, you know, Jewish neocons who were U.S. citizens for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. All those countries that were mentioned in the clean break memo, we've either destabilized or paid off, right? Jordan and Egypt are cucked. We pay them a lot of money to play nice with Israel. Other countries, we've toppled their governments or done some type of operation or coup. And all that's left now is Iran. And that's who we're currently negotiating with now. And I think we're in a very sensitive time where if we don't negotiate these, if we don't go through this properly, we can find ourselves in a World War III. And we're going to win, obviously. Iran can't stand up to us, but it's going to be very costly and very painful for us economically, right? Iran is in a very strategic position where they can really hurt us economically, whether it's you know, their missile system, which is very advanced, their air defense, which is very advanced, their drone program. They absolutely have, you know, all of our allies, Saudi Arabia, UAE, et cetera. They can destroy their oil fields and their strategic points. You know, we could see gas prices go up to like $11 if we go to war. Just off of that alone, they'd shut down the Strait of Hormuz. So there's some really serious consequences of us going to war with Iran. But that's what Israel wants. They want us to go in there and, you know, knock out their nuclear capabilities. So,
and then I want to let some people ask more questions, but one quick question on women.
Sure.
So when it comes to dating, I'm 22. I ascribe to the notion that I think you should make yourself as a man before you maybe find your wife, like put yourself in a good position. Sure. But there's also the fact that like once I get to that position, I want to understand kind of women and the language of like women. So I'm dating now as well to kind of learn that.
Yeah.
Would you recommend doing that? Like, how do you balance that as you're kind of going along your purpose?
So
Because I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, there's different ways to go about it. I mean, like for me, I would go like, you know, 6-8 months just grinding, right? Not talking to women at all, just working. And then I'd take like a month off and I'd, you know, go hang out with friends. Because I was able to kind of do this because I was living in Texas at the time, down like on the southwest border. So I'd go back home and hang out with my friends for like a couple of weeks. And, you know, I'd be more social and stuff like that. Then obviously I'd, you know, turn that off and go back into grind mode. You could do it that way. The thing is that you just got to prioritize work. And I know that's where it kind of becomes difficult to be disciplined. That's why maybe taking 3-6 months where you're just grinding and then maybe taking a week or two where, you know, you become social again. That's one way to go about it. But it really comes down to your preferences of what you want to do. But I think the big thing is just to not commit or get married before you have certain things in place. Right. So, you know, use it as a time to kind of experiment and figure out women and figure out what you like and what you don't like. Yeah. Because that's half the game in itself. We had one guy try to like come in and heckle me and say, oh, well, I took your advice and I found my wife. So, you know, but I was in a dark place because I was like womanizing. And I was like, well, the reality is like half the game is figuring out the women that you don't want to be with. Yeah. So that's super important. So, yeah, man.
Yeah. It's just hard to find that balance between like
For sure.
grinding, but also spending time with that. And I don't want to waste my time, but
For
it's
sure.
also important to learn. So, but
For sure.
that makes sense. So
And also another big thing is, I tell guys all the time, I know it's hard for younger guys to do, but stay away from drugs and alcohol, man. That is the devil.
Yeah, I don't drink.
Perfect.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, sweet. Well, thank you.
No worries, man.
I just got one question.
Yeah.
Do you think the Zionists got rid of Massie wife?
That is a conspiracy theory. For those that are, he's talking about Thomas Massie. His wife, tragically passed away last year, and he's one of like the only congressman that's like very critical of Israel and doesn't have an AIPAC handler. I don't know, man. I don't know, honestly. There's people who are saying that. I know that the Zionist lobby dislikes him. Even Trump threatened to like primary him, but yeah, I don't know.
I got two more questions. A follow up for that.
Yeah.
Are you worried about your parents' safety or Angie's safety from the Zionists?
No.
Okay.
No, I do pretty well with like keeping family members, out of the limelight. And then Angie, she's cool.
Okay, I got a quick question. Where's my little guy Frank at?
Oh, I couldn't bring him, man. He was a little sick still, so I wanted to bring him, but next time I'm gonna bring him for sure. He's talking about my dog.
Thank you.
I have a border collie. So, anybody else? That was the last one. All right. Well, hey, man, I'm chilling, man. So, yeah, an outro. All right. So now, man, some really good questions that came across. I hope you guys took something away from it, whether it was the side of 9/11 you didn't know about, or feminism, modernity, dating, intersexual dynamics. I have a very pragmatic and less refined way of talking about it, like unlike maybe like a Dr. David Buss or something. But I think it's very important to mesh the academia with like practicality when it comes to dealing with it in 2025, because we can sit here and talk about theory all day of what women are attracted to and intersexual dynamics, but if we don't actually come up with solutions on how to deal with it in today's day and age, we're not going to be able to overcome it. And then, I'm glad that people are waking up to Israel not necessarily being our ally. I think more and more Americans are waking up every day, and I do think one of the best things about the college campuses are you guys are kind of like the front lines in this information war. That's why they're trying to shut down the universities and deport college students, because they know that the college students have a voice and you guys are the future. So, hey, man, I implore you to look for the truth and, have some critical thinking skills and understand that the liberalist agenda is here to brainwash you, right, and operate on facts, not feelings. All right, guys? So with that, thank you for having me, and it was a good time, man.
Thank you so much, Myron. He's been one of the nicest, most professional people we've ever worked with, so let's give him some love. Got a lot of hate at that table, but he's actually a really nice guy, despite the Harris thing. But I also want to thank all the execs here, the volunteers, people that helped out. We had people that came hours away to help out with this, so thank you guys so much. And everybody who paid for the paid tickets to be here, thank you guys so much, because you're the ones that make these events possible, especially when this university likes to defund us, which they have done, and we sue them for. So if you paid for the royalty or the backstage tickets, we'll do the meet and greet afterwards. We're going to have everybody leave the room, and then if you have those ticket types, come back in. We'll let you know when to come back in, because we'll check your tickets. And if you're here for the royalty dinner later, we'll tell you the location as well. And lastly, like I said, that Andrew Wilson versus apostate prophet debate is should Christians support Zionism next week. It's going to be Monday, University of North Carolina, Asheville, uncensoredamerica.us for tickets. And please subscribe to Myron Gaines X, subscribe to Fresh and Fit, subscribe to Uncensored America. We're almost at 100,000 subs. We're like 2,000 subs away. So pump those numbers up so we can break through the algorithm and get this out to more people. And if you did not receive your shirt as well for a part of your meet and greet and royalty packages, just let me know as well. So thank you guys so much for coming out. Have a good night.
Thank you.